Unity of Houston is an inclusive church where we seek to understand and live the teachings of Jesus and other spiritual masters. At Unity, we welcome all people from all spiritual paths and every walk of life. We celebrate the diversity of our city and of our world, and we teach love, tolerance, and oneness, seeking to live in harmony with open minds and open hearts.
Wherever you are in your spiritual path, you are always welcome at Unity. Join us and discover that the life of your dreams is already within you.
You know, I haven't gotten perfect yet. I hope that's okay. But you should have seen me 20 years ago. You'd be so happy. You'd be so happy that I'm showing up this well today. I promise you. I love that idea that, we see broken beyond repair. We see wounded. But Spirit sees us as whole. And because we have made mistakes, that doesn't disqualify us. I don't know the name of it in Japan, when a piece of pottery is broken, it's repaired with gold. And it becomes even more beautiful in those broken places. You know, when a bone is broken, the mend is even stronger than the original bone. So today is one of my favorite topics. It's on personal purpose, how we find our soul's purpose for being here. What are we doing here anyway? That's what we're going to talk about. But my title is actually A Lever and a Place to Stand. But I have a joke first. It's actually not even a joke. Somebody actually posted this. I love our millennials plus, our younger people. They're just so good. It seems like they come in knowing a lot of things it took me 20 years to learn. It took me a long time to learn that my humanity is divine too. And that my mistakes and my faults, it's all just part of the package. I was such a perfectionist. And there's a new, I don't know if it's a new trend, but this idea of identifying one's own toxic traits. Have you heard this language? It's pretty funny. It's the way to just say, well, this is my toxic trait, and people just tell you what it is. I saw one woman, she said, my toxic trait is this. Nothing is clean unless I clean it. And why doesn't anyone ever help me clean? I can relate a little bit to that. Let me do it. My perfectionist does rise up sometimes. Well, this quote, or the title, A Lever and a Place to Stand, it actually comes from ancient Greece. Archimedes, who was an early mathematician and a proto-scientist and philosopher, he said this, and I'm not going to say it in the original Greek. It's translated into English, and he said this, give me a place to stand in the world and a lever long enough, and I can move the earth. Sounds kind of arrogant, doesn't it? Like, I can do this, give me this, I can do this. But it's actually not. I actually learned about this quote from Father Richard Rohr. And he says, every one of us needs a lever and a place to stand. And it reminded me of our purpose statement. At Unity of Houston, we say, in community, we nurture and empower each other, transforming our lives that we may serve the world. That desire to find out who we really are, find our gifts, find our light. And when we get in touch with that authentic presence of our unique created being, that's our purpose. So your purpose, I know what your purpose is. If you don't know it, your purpose is to be you, fully. Your purpose is to bring your authentic self. Rumi, the wonderful Sufi poet from the 13th century, he told this story. Most of his poetry is just beautifully crafted, but this is actually a teaching story attributed to him. He said, it's as if you were sent here from a far-off kingdom with but one purpose. And if you do or do not achieve this purpose, nothing else that you achieve matters. And this purpose is this: the discovery and delivery of the authentic self. That's why you're here. I know that's why you're in church, because you got work to do. So why do you think I'm here every time the door is open? Because I've got work to do. I want to get in touch with more of that authentic self and let go of more and more of the lies that I was told about who I am and what I continue to tell myself from time to time. The work is to discover our authentic self and then deliver it, and that is how we serve the world. So the first thing I want to say about this idea is that everyone has a purpose. And it may affect the job that you choose or the places where you give your gift, but it's not a job. Years ago, we had Ian Van Zant speak at my church in Dallas, and she said, everybody's got a purpose, but some of y'all got to get a job too. I love her. She can just tell it like it is. Your purpose is not necessarily the work you do, but the ideas that we want to deliver our authentic self into everything we do. My dad worked a job that he hated for 33 years because he loved his family and took care of us. And it was a good American factory job with benefits, but he hated it. It affected his health, definitely affected his mood. And so when I went off to college to study something, my dad said, don't ever do what I did. You're gifted. Go follow your dreams. And I imagine that during my 20s, when I was full-blown alcoholism and singing in bars that were not the greatest, I'm sure my dad's like, maybe I should have told him to become an accountant. I don't know. But you know what? It was part of the journey. And he was right. And I think he gave me that gift of just, there's something in me that will know the way. And I made a lot of weird, wrong turns. And today I can say that I'm here as a minister because I had this love of community, and I got to a place where I couldn't say what was really in my heart to say in just a song. So it just happened. I just became more, as I've healed more and more of who I am, it becomes clear that I want to move more and more in the way I spend my time here. Not just my job, but the relationships that I invest in, the way I treat my body. I want to be in alignment with my soul. And that's your purpose. And it's going to, the outpicturing of that, the roles you may take on, the things you agree to do, they will evolve and change as you evolve and change. But you have a holy purpose. That's why you're here. But you got some things in the way. Here's just my little list. The body. The body seeks comfort, pleasure, and survival. The body does not seek your soul's purpose. Anybody else just want to sit on the couch and eat potato chips and watch football? Is that just me? Okay. Go Astros. Yeah, I know. Tuesday's the playoffs. We won the division yet again, just saying. You have an ego. You have an ego. The ego seeks significance and validation. It's looking out for itself. It's the part of you that helps you navigate the world, but it's not seeking your soul's purpose. But your soul desires the expression of your gifts, which I'm going to equate to the lever in the Archimedes quote. It's the thing that you bring that is unique that you can use to make something happen. Your soul desires expression of your authentic self, and it also desires the experience of true belonging. That's the place we stand. And each of us is seeking a way to be who we are, to bring the gifts and talents and preferences that we have in a setting, in a community, in a group where we feel like we are valued, and we can do that. That's the whole reason we exist here at Unity of Houston, is to create a space where we can bring who we are. We're doing a new ad campaign where there'll be a story, an interview with me in the October issue of Outsmart magazine, which is the largest LGBTQ publication in the city. And that's what we were focused on. We also took out an ad, and it's everyone belongs. We talk about unapologetically inclusive. And that doesn't just mean for gay and lesbian and bisexual and transgendered people. That means for all y'all. This is a place where we want you to bring who you are. That we honor and value the way God has shaped you. I was driving down 59. I have a lot of stories where I'm driving down 59. I live in Montrose, so I'm back and forth here quite a bit on that. And well, first of all, let me tell you, do you all know about Thomas Merton? I've spoken about him before. He was a Catholic monk. He wrote a best-selling autobiography in the 50s, and he was a Trappist monk. He lived in a monastery outside of Louisville, Kentucky, called Gethsemane. And he became a huge peace activist, and he wrote so much about the contemplative life. Beautiful, beautiful teacher. One day when he was there in Kentucky at the monastery, it was his turn to go into the city to buy groceries and supplies for the monastery. And he's there at the corner of 6th and Main in downtown Louisville. Coming out of the store where he had bought things, he was stopped dead in his tracks with this awareness that every person walking on the streets was holy. And he was shaken to his core just seeing the holiness around him. Transformed everything. Changed the way he wrote. It changed the work that he decided to focus on in his ministry. And I was on 59 the other day. That didn't happen to me. But something did happen. I had gone to a doctor's appointment. I was working from home that day. I was driving back home and stuck on 59 at 10 o'clock in the morning. I mean, really, stopped dead traffic. And I was a little frustrated. I had to get home, get on a Zoom call, and I had an awareness that all of these people in all these cars that are just really obstacles to me in this moment, they have a life. And I began to think about, well, some of them are probably driving to the med center, dealing with who knows what they're dealing with in their lives. Maybe good news, but probably some hard things. There are people probably driving over to U of H to classes who are maybe in the middle of life. They're beginning to get a degree. They want to change their life for good. There are people that are driving here or stuck here on traffic with me on this freeway who are having the worst day they've ever known. And there are people in the cars with me now who just asked someone to marry them, and they said yes. And something, it wasn't Thomas Merton, but something began to grow in me. Recognizing that every person has a story of their becoming. There's a German word, Sonder, and it just means special or unique. But the word has now been adapted into our language, into English, Sonder, and it means that experience that I had, or just an awareness that everyone is in the middle of their hero's journey. Everyone is going through difficult things and wonderful things. They're having a life. And how often do I just look at them as traffic? And it helps me get in touch with my own unique purpose that I feel God has called me to. And yet, my ego still gets in the way. This happens for even holy people. I don't know if you know this. This is about the 12 original apostles of Jesus. This comes from the book of Mark, chapter 9. And they came to Capernaum, and when Jesus was in the house, he asked them, "What were you arguing about on the road?" 59. But they kept quiet because on the way they had argued about who was the greatest among them. So human, man. Who's Jesus' favorite? And sitting down, Jesus called the 12 and he said, "Anyone who wants to be first must be very last, and the servant of all." And he took a little child whom he placed among them, and taking the child in his arms, he said to them, "Whoever welcomes one of these little children in my name welcomes me. And whoever welcomes me does not welcome me, but the one who sent me." That ego, always looking for status. And who had the least status in that room? This little child, probably making noise and running around, bothering people, crying in the service. You know how they are. And Jesus said, no. To be great in a spiritual sense means to set the ego aside and serve. Is to bring who you are to serve and to welcome each other as holy. What if we treated everyone the way we would treat a newborn baby, with gentleness and kindness and understanding? Do you know that they can't even walk yet when they come out? Did you know that? And you know you have to change their diapers? You know that? And yet what is our response to a baby? Oh, just our hearts. What if we could bring that kind of love for each other? You know, think about that metaphor of walking, you know, when it's a process, in case you haven't noticed. And the thing is, God planned it perfectly, or evolution did too, because they're just short little legs with a good padding on the behind, and they just fall all the time. They just get up and they fall and they fall. Can you imagine if the first time you tried to take a step and you failed, it was like, well, I guess walking's not for me. Clearly, I'm no good at this. You just get up, keep trying. And when a child falls down when they're learning to walk, who of us judges or criticizes them? Do you remember when you were with a child or a grandchild about to take their first steps and just the joy? Oh, come on. Come to BB. That's Cindy's grandma's name. Come to BB and just welcome every fall, every misstep. It's all part of it. And your purpose is to make room for the growth as you deliver the gift you are. Self-judgment and self-criticism is the quickest way to block your experience of finding your purpose. This comes from someone who did that for a long time. So let's talk about what is your lever. So I mentioned the Rumi story, you discover and deliver. That sequence is important. You've got to find out what your authentic self is before you can give it away. And so this requires some effort on our part, right? For me, it's been a whole lot of effort for a whole lot of years. Most of that discovery process for me has been in recovery, in the work that I've done there, in therapy with really good therapists who just would listen to my nonsense and occasionally go, have you heard that? Let me say that back to you and see if that feels true. And then churches like this, where I was given these teachings which were so different from what I grew up in. I thought God was mad at me for the first 30 years of my life. That perfectionist that I have in my own head, I thought God was like that too, just judging me, blaming me for my own mistakes, punishing me. And then I came to a New Thought church, and you're like, no, that's not how this works. That you are beloved beyond your imagination. All of that judging and punishing, that's you. You don't have to do that. Just as you are, you're created in the image and likeness of God. And you get to be you. It was life-changing. And I'm still having my life changed by doing this work of discovering my authentic self. And then after we know more of who we are, what it is that makes us tick, what are the ways that we might serve? I was watching a little bit of Joyce, what's her name? Joyce Meyer. We don't always agree theologically, but I like her style. She was saying when she first she wanted to find her purpose, and she didn't know, so she was in a church. She was really on fire with this evangelical zeal, and so the first thing she did is she went street evangelizing, and she's like, I hated every second of it. She said, the first person I tried to give a tract, they cussed me out and slapped it out of my hand. You're like, this is not my calling. She said, then I volunteered in the nursery at my church. And she said, after 2 weeks, both the kids and I knew this was a mistake. Then she actually applied and became, she said, for one day I became the pastor's secretary. And at the end of that day, he said, you didn't do anything wrong, but this just doesn't feel right. And then a little bit later, he asked her to teach a Bible class. And the first time she did that, she said, here it is. Here it is. And she is now a world-famous teacher of Bible. You get to try things. You get to experiment with your life as you're discovering how you're going to deliver your authentic self. Just try it out, and you will know. The kids will tell you, you're not a nursery worker, or they'll go, they will delight with you. And that's another great gift you get at a spiritual community like ours. We give you opportunities to serve, and you'll find not everything is going to be a fit for everybody. But there are ways, and talk to Reverend Cindy, who is also our director of volunteer ministry or sacred service. She will help you find the place where you can give your gift. Howard Thurman says this. I love this quote. Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive and go do that. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive. That's how you find your lever in this world, the way that you can bring agency to make it better for all of us by finding out who you are. And then the last piece is this place to stand. And I am so grateful that I found the New Thought movement. It actually found me in a bar room singing drunk, but that's another story for another time. You'll find your way to a place, I hope that maybe Unity of Houston is a part of that journey for you. It is this morning. You're here. Where you have a sense of belonging, like I can bring my authentic self here. And when you have that support around you, that is the place to stand in the world so you can make the lever work. You have a firm foundation. You have people that have your back that will encourage you to keep trying. Not the nursery, that's not for you, but don't tell Stephen I said that because he will not be happy with me. He needs people volunteering in the nursery. And some of you, that's exactly right. I have a vision that we become what I've borrowed this term from this world called biomimicry. I think I've told this before, I'm going to say it again, that they've discovered that reforestation is not difficult. Trees like to grow. You plant them in a growing zone where they can do that, they'll just grow. But what we've done is we've reforested like planting a cornfield. Monoculture, all the same trees, planted in straight lines, and it works. The forest comes, but it doesn't have the biodiversity of a natural forest. It's expensive. And they discovered by this technique they call creating a welcoming island. That's the way nature does it. A much smaller piece of land with far fewer trees, but some of the other plants that are the smaller, the undergrowth and the middle places too. And you create this little welcoming island, and it thrives, and it attracts to it all the pollinators, all the little critters, all that it needs, and those welcoming islands grow towards each other. I have the vision that that's who we are as a community. We create a safe place for us to grow and heal. And we're doing this work of reforestation, kindness and compassion and loving kindness, recognizing that we're all divine, we're all in this together. We're doing it here, and there are other people doing it in their world, in their sphere, and I think we can grow together and heal the planet. Anybody on board with that? Amen. That's who we are. We don't have to do it all. But here, you are invited to find your place to root and grow, discover who you are and deliver it. You belong here. You belong here because you're here this morning. That's how I know belong here. You may not be your church. You may be continuing your search, but thank you for being with us today. Mother Teresa is one of my spiritual sheroes. She says this: if we have no peace, it is because we have forgotten that we belong to each other. She also said, we can do no great things, only small things with great love. Your purpose does not have to be grandiose. You don't have to be famous. You don't have to win Nobel Peace Prizes. Nothing, not to take away from any people that do that. It's amazing. They become beacons of light for us. But you do got to be you. You have to begin to release all of that judgment, all of that self-criticism. You are enough. Gary, would you mind going and playing? I'm going to go into the prayer from this. This came out several years ago, probably in the 90s. But this is a message from the Hopi elders, from the Oribi, the Arizona, the Hopi nation. You have been telling people that this is the 11th hour. Now you must go back and tell the people that this is the hour. Here are the things that must be considered. Where are you living? What are you doing? How are your relationships? Are you in right relation? Where is your water? Know your garden. It is time to speak your truth. Create your community. Be good to each other, and do not look outside yourself for the leader. This could be a wonderful time. There is a river flowing now very fast. It is so great and swift that there are those who will be afraid. They will try to hold on to the shore. They will feel like they are being torn apart, and they will suffer greatly. Know that the river knows its destination. The elders say we must let go of the shore, push off to the middle of the river, and keep our eyes open and our heads above the water. See who is there with you and celebrate them. At this time in history, we are to take nothing personally, least of all ourselves. For the moment that we do, our spiritual growth and journey comes to a halt. The time of the lonely wolf is over. Gather yourselves together. Banish the word struggle from your attitude and vocabulary. All that we do now must be done in a sacred manner and in celebration. We are the ones we have been waiting for. Will you pray with me? So in this prayer, remembering there is only one life, one presence, one power, one divine creative intelligence. I call it God because it's the biggest word I know. But this loving Creator gives of its own nature and essence into infinite forms, and each of us is an expression of the Most High. Each of us created for a high and holy purpose, to be who God made us to be. And to bring the light that is ours, the light of God that shines through us as our unique light, and share it with our families, with our churches, with our synagogues and temples, with our mosques, with our cities, with our nations, with the world. And so in this moment, what I know is that everyone within the sound of my voice is opening to this light, opening to this truth that only can come through us. We release our fear and our judgment of ourselves, and we step into this open water, this flowing river that will take us where we need to be, that will deliver us to the very places that need our love, that need our healing, that need our stories. And so we trust. We can't do all the good that the world needs, but the world needs all the good that we can do. And in that, we give thanks and we let it be. And so it is. Amen. You're beautiful. There is a light that can come into the world no other way but through you. So if no one has told you today that they love you, I love you. God bless you.
Thank you for watching this message today. I'd like to invite you to join us in person here on campus at Unity of Houston for Sunday morning or Wednesday evening services. If you can't be with us here on our campus, you can still join us live on Facebook or on our website, unityhouston.org, Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Central.